to the channel. Today, we're going to cover how to go about getting your ebooks into libraries. And if you are new to the channel and have not yet subscribed, go ahead and do that right now. And with that, let's jump in. Well, welcome to this very special live YouTube that we have for you today. I'm really excited because what I've done is brought in a library industry expert, Amy Collins, because what's been happening is really massive changes in the whole publishing industry and how books are being sold. And I wanted to get the most up-to-date information, specifically with regards to selling your books into libraries. And for that, I want to welcome you to the call, Amy. Thank you so much for being here. My first question for you is, just so everyone understands, why is it even beneficial? Why is it beneficial? Why should authors and publishers try to get their books into libraries in the first instance?
Well, it's always been beneficial to get your books into libraries, something that a lot of authors perhaps have always misunderstood over the years. It has been an enormously popular way to get new readers, and even more so now. With everything going on in the world and with more and more people getting more and more busy or less and less willing to go out, what we're seeing is that the number of people who are visiting library websites is exploding. It used to be about 56%, according to the American Library Association. About 56% of library patrons had visited their local library's website in the last year. That has just gone through the roof right now. We are seeing 70, 80% increase in ebook, audiobook downloads right from the comfort of your own home. So while libraries were always important, getting your book into the library market, especially your ebook, has never been more important than it is now, because more and more readers are looking for something to read.
Yeah, and that's the other thing, the whole fact that your book is in the libraries tends to spill over into other benefits in your marketing, regardless of where your book is for sale.
Well, when you say what's new and what's changed and how the publishing industry has completely turned around, everything's cattywampus. I've never seen it as crazy as it is now, for a couple of reasons. The first one is most of the major publishing houses have kind of shot themselves in the foot a little bit with libraries lately, which has opened up a wonderful opportunity for small presses, for self-published authors, for first-time authors, an opportunity that was always there but was never quite as wide. It wasn't as good as it is now. And getting your book has never been easier into libraries. But once you do, what we have found here is that your Amazon sales go up, your bookstore sales go up. Libraries have always helped because most readers are avid library patrons. But what we're finding now is that an enormous amount of marketing movement is happening in the libraries. More and more readers are recommending books. They're reviewing them online, and they got them from libraries. Then they're turning around and they're telling their friends about them, or they're buying them as gifts.
Yeah, but how is it even possible, or is it possible for a self-publisher or a small press or indie published author to get their books into the libraries? I mean, I realize it's very possible if you're with a big house, but what about us little people out here that have maybe one title or two titles, or we're part of a very small press? Is it possible for us to get our books into the library system?
That question makes me, I get so frustrated when I hear it, because most people believe that it's either impossible or extremely difficult to get your book into libraries if you're not with a major publishing house. And right now, the opposite is true. If you're with Macmillan or several of the other large houses, they've actually put a 4-month embargo on all of their new books, and libraries, while they've changed their mind and they've backpedaled a little bit, libraries are very, very frustrated with the larger houses right now. And they are turning more and more to small presses, to self-published authors, to first-time authors to fill in the holes. There's gaps. If you are a mystery or a children's book author, there is this enormous opening for you. It is so easy. It has never been easier to get your book into libraries now. Now, there are a couple of steps you need to take.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's kind of take folks through that process.
Okay, well, it's
kind of a 30,000 foot overview, if you could.
Okay, I'd be happy to. It is not complicated, folks. Here are the steps. The first step is your book needs to be available from the wholesalers from which the libraries are used to working. Libraries, especially if you want to sell your ebook, and who wouldn't want to sell an ebook to a library? You don't have to ship it. You don't have to print it. Oh, it's gorgeous. So if you want your ebook to be able to be loaned out and you want to be able to get money for your ebook to libraries, it has to be available through the wholesaler Overdrive. Overdrive.com. Just, you can go to that website. You know what? I'm going to throw a couple of websites at you right now. And Daniel, you'll put them in the link below, correct?
Yep. We'll have it in the description for folks.
Overdrive. Overdrive is the 600-pound gorilla right now when it comes to ebooks and audiobooks. You have to get your book into there. But it's so easy. As a self-published author or a first-time author, if you hired a hybrid publishing company, all you have to do is go to there's a couple of different ways into Overdrive. My favorite, the way I go in, is through a company called Draft 2 Digital. Draft, the numeral 2 digital.com. The link's below. And they only take 10% and they do all of the work for you. It's a one-stop shopping place where you can get your ebook into Overdrive, bakerandtaylor.com, barnesandnoble.com if you want. If you don't, you don't have to. They do have deals with Amazon, but dozens of other ebook companies. You can decide which ones you want to use them for Overdrive. Or you can go directly to Kobo.com. Kobo is the name of the company. It's based up in Toronto that owns Overdrive. Rakuten is actually the parent company. So if you just go to kobo.com/writinglife, kobo.com/writinglife will allow you to get started. You can upload your self-published book right there. And you can, within a few days, be available through Overdrive. And then the second step, that's the first step. The second step is you have to make the libraries aware that your book exists and that it's available at the wholesalers. That's as simple as a couple of emails, guys. And then the third and the most important thing is that you and the libraries and your book all need to work together to make sure that readers know that your book is there. It is not enough to expect that the library will promote your book. They won't. They will put it up. You'll quite often see your book on the front page of their website for a number of weeks, which is wonderful. But the third step is you have to be willing to let people know in a particular geographic area that library has decided to take on your book.
Awesome. And one of the things I wanted to kind of come back to so that folks kind of can figure this out and understand. You mentioned earlier that the major publishers basically kind of did an embargo. In other words, they sort of throttled the sale of books to libraries of their new titles, correct? And I understand that the big part of the reason for that is that they thought it was cutting into their royalties or into their book sales, correct? I mean, that's the only reason why I can imagine that they would do that. So my question for you is, why wouldn't self-publishers also be afraid of that? In other words, if you're selling your books to libraries, isn't that going to cut down on their sales?
Keep in mind, Daniel, that these large houses are the same companies that a couple of decades ago predicted that paperbacks would be the death of the industry, that nobody would buy a paperback, and that paperbacks would kill their industry and it would destroy their profit margins. They then went on to say that audiobooks and that eBooks would be the death of them. None of that was true. I love the publishing world. Don't get me wrong. I love the major houses. But let's be honest. they, at this point, don't have a great track record in deciding what is best for the industry, for the readers. And if you're a self-published or a small press, you will find what the American Library Association, and if you go to ala.org, you will find these facts and figures right on their site. You don't have to take my word for it. That getting your book listed into libraries and onto those virtual shelves, even as an ebook, will increase your Amazon sales by over 50%. It increases your reviews. It increases your outreach. It has yet to, and in our personal experience back in the day, I mean, I used to sell to libraries directly before I started teaching. We found that without exception, getting your book into the libraries did nothing but increase your sales. And for the authors who are saying, but they only buy one book, well, sure. Let's say that you live in Cincinnati, Ohio, and the Indian Hills branch buys one book, as opposed to the bookstore down the street may buy 5, sell them, and buy 5 more. They may buy them. They may buy 5. They may sell them, and they may buy 5 more. But that one library in Indian Hills has bought that book. You're not going to get it back. It's not going to be returned. That book is there. It is a living billboard for you and your book for the rest of its life. And then if that book starts to be checked out, other libraries in the Cincinnati system are going to see that in their reports, and they're going to order the book. This has happened over and over again to authors that I have worked with for years, where they get their book into one branch and all of a sudden they get an order for 30 copies because it's going to all the other branches. And I want to remind you guys, there are 4 times more public libraries in the United States than there are independent bookstores.
Wow.
There are 4 times more public libraries in the United States than there are bookstores. Who cares if they only order one? That's 10,000 libraries. Would you like to sell 10,000 books? I would.
Absolutely. I would like to sell 10,000 books. Excellent. So for those folks, Amy, and thank you so much for that answer, but for those folks that want to really dive in and really learn what to do, what is the next step?
Well, you can Google it. There's a lot of time consuming and some of it is well done and some of it is not. There's a lot of information out there. For that reason, I have put together with you, Daniel, a video. There is a short masterclass. It is totally free, where we give people the real facts, the up-to-date facts. For instance, when I did this video a few years ago, we told everyone that they needed to email and make phone calls and send PDFs and mail physical copies of your books. None of that's the case anymore. So if you're interested in learning exactly how to do it today, may I recommend that you it takes less than an hour. Watch this class. It's a totally free masterclass. It's no obligation, and it allows you to see the entire process. I lay it out for you. I give you the tools. I give you the steps, and I give you the links that you need to do it all yourself.
Awesome. And we're going to put the link for that masterclass in the description for this video. Amy, thank you so much for taking the time to educate us once again. For those folks watching, that link will be in the description. And remember, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that right now. And I always appreciate Hulk smash on that like button. We'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.